At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group, serious legal representation.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope your Thursday is going well. It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, it is a beautiful day here in Atlanta, Georgia. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Again, please hit that like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I want to thank all of you, whoever is watching this. Thank you for the support over the years. It really means a lot. Before we get started, we have a couple of announcements. Announcement number one, we are rolling to Nigeria, August 4th to the 13th. August 4th to the 13th, we are rolling through Nigeria. I mean, not through, rolling to, I'm sorry, and rolling through parts of Nigeria, but rolling to Nigeria, August 4th to the 13th for the Oshun Festival. Again, for the Oshun Festival, August 4th through the 13th. We will love to have you. We have 4 spots remaining. Again, we have 4 spots remaining. We will love to have you. It will be great. Great. It will be an honor. It will be a blessing for you to come and join us in Nigeria and experience the Oshun Festival. So half the trip, the first half of the trip is going to be spent in Oshun, Oshun State. Then we're going to head to Lagos and, have some fun and enjoy Lagos. So yeah, that's what we are doing. We're looking forward to it, and we'll love. Shout out to Ivy Dreams in the chat room. Ivy, when you coming on a trip? When you coming on a trip? Ivy, we'll love to have you. So come and join us in Nigeria. Then we are rolling to. So we're going to Senegal. God, it's already April 18th. We leave for Senegal on May 12th. And shout out to Tyler, brother Tyler. Tyler's coming to Senegal with us for the Jazz Festival. We leave May 12th. May 12th is when we leave for the Jazz Festival. So we are looking forward to that. We're going to have a great time. Again, we're going to have a great time in Senegal for the Jazz Festival. All right, so we have that. And we're rolling to Zanzibar. That is September 22nd through October 1st. September 22nd through October 1st. We are rolling to Zanzibar for Safari Blue. White sand beaches, blue water, good seafood. My favorite date, one of my favorite cakes in the world, my favorite cake, one of my favorite cakes in the world, date cake. All of that going down September 22nd to October 1st, Zanzibar for Safari Blue. So come and join us. Visit Donfo. No. Be nice to brother who? Oh no. I'm gonna be to Dennis. I'm gonna be respectful. I just think he's misled and misguided. I think what he's trying to accomplish, this whole let's sue African nations. I mean, it sounds great to that demographic that thinks, that has a personal vendetta against Africa, but it's laughable. Again, it's laughable. It's just it's not gonna happen. They'll get laughed out of court. So yeah. So that's it. That's all. But we'll get into it. So visit donfo.africa to learn more. Yeah, he's tripping. Yeah, you owe me, you owe me. You know, Africans owe us reparations, and no, it's not gonna happen on that end. It's just not gonna happen. You know, but again, it makes for a great conversation, though. You know, and again, it feeds to this, you know, these ADOS, FBA people who subscribe to that way of thought. You know, it sounds good to them, but it's delusional at best. So, but we'll jump into that. But anyways, we're going to jump into today's topic. I'll put the link in the chat room in about 30 minutes. Well, probably longer than that, because I want to go through this video. Again, I want to go through this video. Definitely, Didnt definitely would have stayed on the plantation. Well, see that. What? So Derek, what does we don't flee, we fight? Like, you guys are literally fighting to stay on the plantation. That's what I keep hearing. And Derek, I don't know if you're trolling. And I want to give this disclaimer. Like, I'm gonna be respectful. You know, I want to keep this platform positive as possible. But there's certain topics that need to be addressed. You know, but Dynast definitely would have stayed on the plantation. Like, literally, the calling card, or you guys' rallying point, is we don't flee, we fight. And what are you fighting for? You're fighting to stay on the plantation. So I find that very interesting. But listen, if you disagree, I'm gonna put the link in the chat room here shortly, and you're more than welcome to call in. Like, your guys' rally point, or, you know, message, or calling, or, you know, calling card, rally point, whatever you want to call it, is we don't flee, we fight. And our bones are buried our bones is buried here. So your bones are buried on the plantation. You don't flee, you fight for the plantation. I mean, I don't know. I'm telling my people, ask Tyler. You know, I'm taking people to get their passports, to get citizenship. So they have options outside the plantation. And you guys talk about our bones are buried here. We don't flee, we fight. That's your motto. That's the word. That's your motto. We don't flee, we fight for the plantation. Our bones are buried here. Meanwhile, I'm taking people so they can get their citizenship, so they can have options outside the plantation. But I don't consider the United States of America as a plantation. The reason why is the opportunities that we have today. Again, the opportunities that we have today, our ancestors who were actually on a plantation did not have. America is not a plantation. If you ask me, America is not a plantation. If you ask me, yeah, plenty of opportunities to make a living and do very well here in America. That's why I don't consider it a plantation. You know, me personally. But anyways, let's jump into the next topic. Let me do this right here. Oh, what was that?
In just a few clicks, you can become your own bank. Yes, you heard that right. Just imagine. That means no more stress about banks falling like dominoes.
The question of reparations for Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, those who can trace our lineage back to the plantations and tobacco farms and cotton plantations of North America. It has been a highly contested issue. It's been a highly contested question. Who's going to pay? Who's owed reparations?
Guys, can I ask a question? I'm starting to notice a shift. What do I mean a shift? A lot of these, we're ADOS, we're FBAers. They're now claiming to be Native Americans. Like it's a whole identity crisis going on within the so-called FBA ADOS. It's like now these folks are claiming to be Native Americans and not African. And case in point, let me go to hold on, let me do this real quick. Let me go to Dennis's comment section. And you're starting to see more of this. Here we go, right here. Only a very small percentage of Africans are brought here to America. Well, hold on, let me know that's not it. Here we go. The federal government know that over 90% of Black Americans are not from Africa, and therefore we will be included in this particular lawsuit. See, there goes the fucking lawsuit. Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Excuse my language. I apologize. It's like it's a whole identity crisis within this group. These folks now think they're Indians. So if you ain't from Africa, there goes the whole argument. There goes the whole Africa owes us. You ain't from Africa. The federal government know that over 90% of Black Americans are not from Africa, and therefore we will be included in this particular lawsuit. Like you're not from Africa. So there blows up your entire we are going to sue Africa, because you guys have no idea the amount of the so-called FBA and ADOS who are claiming to be Native Americans now. And what's going to happen? Because these organized fringe organizations are so fringe now and so disorganized, you're going to have guys like this who are going to pull up to the hearing or the whatnot. They're going to say, hey, look, we want to be included too. I mean, us Black folks are already here. So how can you include us? All us Black folks ain't from Africa. So we got to be included in some type of way. And they're going to blow up the lawsuit. But again, the majority of y'all, these folks now claim to not be African. Let's see if we got any more in here. But let me give credit where credit is due. Let me say this about Dennis. Him being a lawyer. Let me say this about Dennis. Let me give credit where credit is due. I applaud Dennis. Even though Dennis is misguided and misinformed, Dennis is one of the only lawyers that are actually fighting for reparations. Even though this form and the way he's going about it is misinformed and misdirected, I have to give him credit. He's at least putting in some type of effort as a lawyer when it comes to reparations. Why do you say that, Dynast? I've had this reparations conversation with a bunch of lawyers, and they just aren't, they're not interested at all. Now, again, Dennis is the best way I could describe it. You guys watch football, and somebody might pick up a fumble and run to the wrong end zone, or somebody like basketball, somebody might go on a fast break, but actually take the ball and score in the wrong goal or the wrong hoop. That's what Dennis is doing. It's like he's going full steam ahead. He's full steam ahead, but he's going in the wrong direction. Like he's scoring points for the opponent. That's what Dennis is doing here.
How they're supposed to, how the victims and the people who are descended from the enslaved people are supposed to get them. And so nobody has ever actually, in my opinion, done enough work to figure out who's at fault and who's the liable parties. I think
you have an
easy fix that doesn't require much work is to look around and say, oh, it's the white people. But then you also have to consider the fact that there were a lot of black people who participated in the enslavement of black people, not just in the United States, but also in Africa. The other thing you have to consider is that the defendants are so numerous. How would you ever sue them? And we're talking about literally millions of people with different, whether they be natural citizens or juridical citizens, whether they exist now, whether they have successors. It's nearly an impossible task. Some people say, well, let's just sue the federal government. And, I'm just going to tell you guys that's probably not going to happen, largely because there's immunity allotted to the federal government. So you're going to use the system to sue the system. And that's really just something that's quite impossible. Yeah, the federal government can give you permission to sue it, but
so is Dennis saying that he's not going to sue the United States of America, but instead sue Africa? Am I instead sue African nations? Am I getting that right? So he's not going to sue the United States of America, but he wants to sue African nations. Guys, am I getting that right? Am I wrong? Is that what he's saying? Is that what Dennis is saying?
then you still need an act of Congress to approve whatever settlement. And so
that's what he's saying. So Dennis is saying he's not going to sue the United States government. That's what, I don't know. That's what he said. Oh, let's continue. I might have missed something.
Right back to Congress. And so what I've done to just truncate the issue and just fast forward this is I've developed basically a draft of what I think would be a very good piece of legislation if it could be enacted. And I've entitled it, and this is a working title, Foundational Black American Slave Trade Redress Act. Now, this term, foundational Black American, or the term foundational, because we all know what Black American is. That denotes those people who can trace their heritage back to the enslavement here in North America. But I like the term foundational because it's not so great of a variant from Black American. In other words, we're Black American. We've gotten used to that term. Let's just add foundational Black American onto it to further distinguish ourselves, as opposed to changing the name to something else. We went from colored to Negro to Black American, African American. And even though Black American and African American are used interchangeably, most people know what the
Oh, guys, please also disclaimer: fair use, fair use. Thank you.
that is. However, since the 1980s, you've had lots of people from Africa who are also American coming to the continent. So the question is, how do we distinguish ourselves between Africans from Africa who come to the United States and Black Americans or African Americans? And so I think this term foundational Black American is a good term. I have listened to gentleman, brother Tariq Nasheed, speak on this many times, and it's become very popular over the past decade or so, and I think it fits. Nevertheless, I want to read the title. I want to read this, and I want to explain it to you because it has a tendency to answer all the questions. Now, of course, this will be something that would have to pass through the House of Representatives and also the Senate of the United States and be ratified by the president, which I think once I finish is not going to be difficult to do. Now, I'm going to read it, and as I go along, I'll explain why I put certain quotes in there. So, again, the name of this is and you can look at this. If you want to look at this, you can find it on my Dennis Spurling podcast YouTube page in the community section. And it reads as follows. This act may be cited as the foundational Black American Slave Trade Act of 2024, or whatever year it is. The findings, Section 2, the findings and purpose. Findings, Congress recognizes that the illegal transatlantic slave trade, including notable incidents involving the slave ships Clotilda and the Wanderer, resulted in the forced and unlawful transportation of many Africans directly to the United States. This trade has left a lasting impact on their descendants, known as foundational Black Americans. Okay, so I mentioned the term Clotilda. I mentioned the term Wanderer. These were names of slave ships.
You know, I find it interesting that Dennis is injecting Clotilda, but the descendants, the family of the descendants of the if one of them being Cujo Lewis, I think that was his name. They're actually trying to go after the white family who was in Mobile, Alabama, who bought them. I can't think of the I forgot the name of the slave owner. That's who they're going after. They're not going after African countries. So it's like, did Dennis consult with the family of the descendants of the slaves that were on Clotilda? Because they made it clear. In fact, we watched the video on here. They're going after. I can't. Let me get the name of the. Hold on one second. Hold on. The Mayer family, Timothy Mayer. The Mayer family, Timothy Mayer. So the captain of the ship was William Foster, and Timothy Mayer was the actual slave owner who owned Cujo Lewis, I believe. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, let me make sure. But like, they're actually going after that family who's still there in Mobile, Alabama. But they're talking about, but he's talking about going after the country. This doesn't make any sense. All right, let's watch the video. Let's go.
That arrived to the shores of the United States after slavery, after the international slave trade ban went into place in 1807. So what does that mean? That means on the law, under American law, under the law of the United States, the act of transporting them from the United States to from the west coast of Africa or wherever they were, whether west coast, east coast, whatever, because actually the Wanderer was a ship that originated in the Congo. So the slavers went to the Congo, picked up Africans, and brought them here. So long after slavery, the international slave trade became illegal, there were still those who were bringing slaves to this country. That is a very easily to prove fact in a very complicated case. See, the problem you're going to run into is that at the time, or let me give you some dates. America basically was formed in 1776. Before that, it was a British colony. So how do you sue Great Britain?
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for $160,000.
For an act that was legal. How do you sue America for something that Great Britain did? You could do it. But since both of those entities actually still exist, you would sue Great Britain for what happened in its colony before 1776. But again, slavery was legal at that time. In fact, slavery was legal in Africa, and it still is legal in Africa. So how can you?
Slavery's not legal in Africa. What are you talking? Well, what country? No, it's not. It's not. I don't know any country in Africa where slavery is legal. Maybe Mauritania. Can somebody name the countries where slavery is legal? Like, what's this dude talking? What's this dude on? So his argument for not suing European nations should be the same. So the argument he's using to not sue European nations, he's trying to use to sue African nations. Yeah, slavery's not. I mean, I know they have it some in Mauritania, and yeah, but what's this dude talking about? He literally says slavery's still legal in Africa. I'm trying to think. I know, like Mauritania. I don't know if they finally banned it. It's not legal in Mauritania. Okay, so it's not legal in Mauritania. I know there was an issue with it in Mauritania where I guess it's illegal, but it was still practiced. So I was thinking, but in like practice in the open. So I was thinking that it was legal. But yeah, I don't. Where's this guy getting this from? But this is so we have the Fannie Willis situation. Who was Fannie Willis's lover? What's this guy? What was the guy's name? What was the guy's name? Fannie Willis's lover. Like, what's with these lawyers in Atlanta, man? What is with these black lawyers in Atlanta? I know there's some good ones. I know there's some good black lawyers in Atlanta, but Jesus. Nathan Wade. Then you had his partner that was on the stand line. I thought Dennis was in Atlanta. He's in Texas? Okay, sorry about that. I swore I thought Dennis was in Atlanta. He's in Texas? All right. But this is just making black lawyers look bad, man. Nah, but Timmy Lade, are you sure slavery is legal in Mauritania and Mauritius? I'm talking about legal, not illegal, and people just turn their head to it. Like, is it legal? The U.S. should be paying reparations for its recent crimes in places like Libya and Haiti before anyone else. FBA has become code for anti-African racism. Here we go. Let me get back to it.
You hold Great Britain responsible for something that the African kings and kingdoms and countries that the nations were doing. But still, keep that in mind, 1776. By 1887 or 1888, the international slave trade became illegal. Now, that law went into effect 20 years later in 1807. So I meant to say 1778. Apologies. So from 1776, America formed. And so now in 1788, which is about 11 years later, slavery, the international importation of Africans from Africa was deemed illegal. Okay. And so this law went into
Whoa. Let me.
International slave trade became illegal. Now that law went into effect 20 years later in 1807. So I meant to say 1778. Apologies. So from 1776, America formed. And so now in 1788, which is about 11 years later, slavery, the international importation of Africans from Africa was deemed illegal. Okay. And so
No, Britain, the only country that let me get this. Hold on, let me get these facts straight first. Okay, France banned slave trade. Okay, so 1807 is when the British banned the slave trade. 1818 is when the French banned the slave trade. Let's see Portuguese. (1869) was the Portuguese. (1808) was America. Or 1807.
this law went into place 20 years later in 1807. So the question you have to ask yourself, well, how long was the importation of Africans to this country as slaves legal? Well, 11 years. After that, it was illegal. Yeah, it had a grace period of about 20 more years. So we're talking about a total of 31 years that the importation of Africans to the United States, the illegal catching and bringing them here was illegal. So for 31 years, it was actually illegal to bring them here. But the law went into place in 1807 or 1808. So now from 1808 to 1860, you had a time period where Africans were still being brought to the United States. They were still being brought, and it was done illegally. That is a clear violation of law. That is something that if you're a participant in that, then you owe the victims of your crime restitution, whether it be the person who sold them or the person who purchased them illegally. And so when we talk about the Clotilda and we talk about the Wanderer, these two incidents took place in 1860 and I believe 1859, 1860 at the time. The transatlantic importation, illegal transatlantic slave trade was illegal. At that point, it was legal. So we have a clear, definitive line where these actions were deemed criminal. Okay. Nevertheless, as a result of these criminal acts, wherein Africans were brought from Benin, as far as the Clotilda, into Alabama, and from the Congo to Georgia, as far as the Wanderer is concerned, these were clearly illegal acts. So this specifically addressed that. Now, what do we do?
Yeah, but Dennis, how does that apply to you? Were your descendants on the Clotilda? Were your descendants on the Wanderer? So how does that apply to you? That's like where I'm confused. Like, how does that apply to you? Again, somebody help me out. How does that apply to you? Like, were your descendants on Clotilda or the Wanderer? Can somebody help me out? Can somebody help me out?
And that's a good defining line. Number one, you define the class of people that were affected. Africans brought to this country after 1808 when slavery was deemed illegal. That is a clear defining line. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, what about all the black people before that? What about all the black people who were enslaved in Africa? Look, you can eat an elephant a little bit at a time. We're trying to take a bite out of this. We're trying to get a foothold in it. This is a clear, decisive line. It's something that can be redressed. It's something that can be defined. At no point in history has there ever been a world without slavery, period. And I'm just going to talk to you and give you the facts. So every country starts suing every other country, every other citizen for slavery, you're going to have a problem.
Some guys, I'm sorry. If I said that, I apologize. Malcolm X's mother was from Grenada. Malcolm X's mother was from Grenada. Not his father. So Malcolm X's mother was from the Caribbean, not his father. His mother. Okay, let's get back.
Because slavery was illegal. Slavery was legal in the United States. It was legal in Great Britain. It was legal in many nations and countries in Africa. And some of you said it was a different kind of slavery. You know what? Jail is jail is jail. Whether you in the Club Fed or whether you in the Rikers Island somewhere, it's still prison. It's still jail. Slavery is still slavery. You can have degrees of slavery. You can argue about who had the nicest master. But bottom line, it was still slavery. It's still defined as slavery, period. Whether you had slavery with benefits versus slavery with less benefits. The bottom line is slavery. And by title, that's what it was. So you can't have one country sue another country for what it was done when it was doing the same thing, period. Okay? So nevertheless, and that if you are going to address it, let that be for somebody else. What I'm talking about is the Africans who were captured after slavery, captured in Africa and brought to the United States after 1808, when the importation of slaves, black people from Africa, became illegal. That's what we're talking about. And that's what this defines. Now, the purpose of this act, what is it designed to do? This act is designed to enable foundational Black Americans. Again, we use that term, foundational Black Americans, specifically those who are direct descendants of Africans forcibly transported to the United States after the 1808 federal prohibition of the slave.
Right. So then, okay, I'm trying to let him finish, but then that means that people like Dennis Spurling will have to prove that they were forcibly brought over here, their ancestors, after 1808. And he's trying to use Clotilda, but like he would have to prove. So it's up to Dennis to prove that his ancestors came over here after 1808. And his ancestors weren't on Clotilda. I mean, I don't know. Or the ship coming from the Congo called the Wanderer, unless he could prove that.
Slave trade, including but not limited to the descendants from the Clotilda and the Wanderer incidents to seek reparations from the modern African nations and are successors to those historical entities that participated in the slave trade. So here's the thing. I want you all to listen to me. There are a lot of people, if the reparations line opens, there are a lot of people from the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and Africa, and white people, and Asians, and Indians who are going to line up and say, I'm owed reparations too. Why? I've had to suffer racism. Well, that's not what this is about. I've had to suffer degradation. That's not what this is about. Okay? Well, my people were brought to Jamaica illegally. Well, that's not. You need to go talk to the people who brought your people to Jamaica. But this is for our foundational Black Americans, number one, who can trace their heritage or lineage back to the descendants of the Africans who were brought to the United States against federal law, and who were brought in on the Clotilda and the Wanderer. That is a ship that ended up in Alabama. They got a little place called Africatown where many
I've
of
been to
them stood.
Africatown. I've been
There's
there.
a fellow named Cujo Lewis who
Kusula
has a documentary
Lewis.
on they talked about the Clotilda on Netflix. And then the Wanderer is something that's very, very seldom talked about, but that's another ship. Okay, so what have we done? We've eliminated these people, these hangers-ons, these opportunists who would just come along and try to get money just because they can get money. We've eliminated the Africans. We've eliminated the Caribbeans. We've eliminated the white folk, Asian folk, Native American, anybody else. This is solely for foundational Black Americans who can trace their roots back to the people of the Clotilda and the Wanderer, or any other ship that was brought from Africa to the United States, okay, illegally after 1808. Now, what we did is we just eliminated all that. If I'm looking at this as a congressman, I'm like, okay, this is manageable. This is something that it definitely redresses an issue. The wrongdoers, what they did at the time was wrong. And who are we going after? And this is a controversial part. We are going after seek reparations from the modern African nations that are successors to those historical entities that participated in the slave.
God, these African nations didn't exist. These were European colonies. Like, these were European colonies. Like, well, yeah, these were European colonies. Like, they didn't. The Home was a European colony. The Congo was a Belgium colony. Like, what are you talking about? Like, guys, someone help me out here. Help me out. I'm gonna let them finish, but it doesn't make any sense. These were European colonies, and there wasn't really hold on, guys. What was the effect? Hold on. Let me look at something real quick. When was the Berlin Conference? The Berlin Conference was in 1884. So he's talking about 1808. So the line, this is all over the lines the borders would have been drawn yet. What kingdoms, AJ? Do me a favor, AJ. You said the kingdoms are written into those constitutions in some cases, so they will be guilty by association. Can you give me an example? And please forgive me. Can you give me an example of a constitution where the kingdoms were written into the constitution, and in the so I can see the proper context? I mean, because you just said that the kingdoms were written into the Constitution. Can you give me an example? Like, I like to see it. If somebody could post a Constitution in the chat room, because I could be wrong. But even then, does it actually say that, okay, this African country, you've gained your independence, and this kingdom, you inherit this African country? Can somebody help me out?
Slave trade. So there are a lot of you who are saying the nations that were there then didn't exist. The king of the Congo, the king of Benin, they're not there. Yeah, but the land is there. The reason
It wasn't the kingdom of Benin, it was Dahomey. When the emir of Kano was dethroned by the governor of Kano State, he was able to do so because the government has the authority to do so. AJ Graves, what are you talking about? What does that have to do with reparations from, I guess, Nigeria? Like, I mean, just help me out. Just show me a constitution and how this applies. This, these kingdoms are written in the Constitution. Are these kingdoms inherited? Say present day Nigeria, present day Benin Republic, or present day Senegal. Like, how did they inherit these countries? Like, how does that work? When you say inherit, how does that work, AJ Graves? That's all I'm asking for. Like, just put the information in the chat, call in, and let's go through it. Because I just need it to make sense. Because this ain't, the math isn't math in here. The kingdoms inherited are successors of these countries. That doesn't make any sense. How does that work?
resources are there, the people are there, the descendants are there.
The Oyo Empire didn't inherit or weren't successors to Nigeria. It doesn't work like that. In fact, the Oyo Empire stretched through Nigeria all the way to present-day Togo. And then when the French and the British came, they cut all that shit up. So it was no more Oyo Empire. It was British and French protectorates or colonies. So when you say successor, like, what do you mean? And then when the British and French left, they were like, hey, Oyo Empire, we're leaving now. This is yours now. It didn't work like that. Does that make sense? I'm just asking, does that make sense? You have the Oyo Empire, which stretched from southwest Nigeria all the way to Togo. When the British and French came, it divided all that up. It turned into Togo, Benin Republic, Nigeria. When they left and these countries gained independence, the British did not give the empire back to the Oyo or to the Yoruba. That's why I'm lost.
Still, for all intents and purposes, the same locus. Okay? Basic contract law says that if you take over a entity, whether it be natural or juridical, whether it be an LLC or INC, if you take it over, yes, you receive and you inherit the assets of that corporation.
But nah, Dennis, Dennis, you're so far off, man. God, this is so embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. It doesn't work like that, man. It doesn't work like that. I understand what you're saying, Dennis, but this has nothing like the way you're thinking as far as corporations and inheriting corporations. It didn't work like that at the end of colonialism. Those empires no longer existed.
But you also inherit the obligations of that corporation. Case in point, a lot of you all will say, well, America owes you money for slavery. And we talked about this earlier. Y'all didn't get it. Well, America didn't form until 1776. Slavery started in when? 16 what? When did it start? 1619.
What's your credit card debt balance? If it's $10,000 or more, here are 3 easy solutions you can start implementing today.
So from 1619 to 1776, that's when the bulk of the slavery took place. But you want to sue America. Why? Because you said, well, it inherited the land from UK. Okay. Well, at that time, the UK was a kingdom and America wasn't even the same country. We fought to have freedom and separation from the King of England. But you want these people who fought against the English crown to inherit the debt, even though they took it by force. By contrast, Benin, which had a king, is still called Benin.
Benin didn't have a king. It was Dahomey, Dennis. Oh, golly, man. This is a lawyer. This is a lawyer. Jesus, man. This is a freaking lawyer. It was Dahomey. Hold on, guys. The country's name was officially changed to the Republic of Benin on March 1st, 1990. All right, March 1st, 1990 is when it became Benin. By the middle of the 19th century, Dahomey had begun to weaken and lose its status as the regional power. The French took over the area in 1892. In 1899, the French included a land called French Dahomey within the larger French West Africa colonial region. Yeah. So there was no king of Benin.
Okay, and it's still the same people there. So if you don't want to get, if you want America to play, then certainly you want Benin to play, because there's a closer nexus between who had it and who has it now. Nevertheless, basic contracts law says you inherit the debts and the obligations of your predecessor. So in this regard, we have a law in the books that says this is American law. It's legal. It's basic tenets of law. It's something that's been deemed to be constitutional under corporations law, contract law, whatever. It's all. So this is not something that is unconstitutional under the United States Constitution. It is not a violation of due process or any of those tenets of law that we hold fast to. And so this is a sound piece of legislation, in that if we force the successor to be responsible for his predecessor's actions, that is good law. That is a sound principle of law that any judge can hang his robe on. And so that's what we're trying to do. Nevertheless, of course, I can understand why African nations wouldn't like that, because it's going to hold you responsible. Some of you, well, we don't have any money. So you have something of value over there. That's why you have so many European countries over there exploiting you. You have oil, you have resources, you have land, you have wood, you have minerals, you got gas, you got everything. And but for you removing us forcibly and selling us to the European enslavers who are waiting on the coast, we would have that land too, and we would participate in the wealth of that land. But because you sold us for profit illegally at a time when the international slave trade was illegal, you owe us restitution because you committed an illegal act through your, at that time, leader, the president of the King of Benin, and also the King of the Congo, with his blessing for his benefit. You owe us restitution. It was a criminal act. And so that's what's codified here. Okay. Again, if you want to see this, go to my community tab, go to the Dennis Spurling podcast and check it out. Now, section 3, and I know this is a little bit long, but I want you guys to hang in there and I'll try to move a little faster. Foundational Black American, an individual. Who is this? We want to define it under the definition section. Any good piece of legislation wants to be defined. What is a foundational Black American? An individual who is a direct descendant of an African person enslaved and transported directly from Africa to the United States post 1808, including those whose ancestors were victims of the Clotilda and Wanderer slave ship incidents. Now, of course, we understand.
Hold on, he said post 1808. That's not what your King Tariq Nasheed would say. So is Dennis saying that people who came, who were slaves that were here before 1808 aren't eligible? Is that what I'm missing? Can someone help me out? Because he's saying post 1808. Is that what he's saying?
And it, foundational Black American is a little broader than that, is those, and not just those who brought here after 1808, but also those who were brought from Africa beforehand. But the bottom line is this, for the purposes of this piece of legislation, this works because it what it does is it narrows those who potentially have standing. Next up, another definition. I'm defining in section 3, African sovereign. What is that? It refers to any current African nation that is a successor to a historical empire, kingdom, or entity that actively participated in the transatlantic slave trade. American is a little broader than that, is those, and not just those who brought here after 1808, but also those who were brought from Africa beforehand. But the bottom line is this, for the purposes of this piece of legislation, this works because it what it does is it narrows those who potentially have standing. Next up, another definition. I'm defining in section 3, African sovereign. What is that? It refers to any current African nation that is a successor to a historical empire, kingdom, or entity that actively participated in the transatlantic slave trade. You guys know from that movie, The Woman King, that the Dahomey, the country of Dahomey, whatever, Dahomey, the king there participated in slavery. And that is where current the city, the country of Benin is. The Congo actively participated. And so if you can prove that they participated in the slave trade after 1808, then that's a potential defendant. And that's it. Okay? So it presents foundational Black Americans with an opportunity who can show that their family members were kidnapped at the behest and with the knowledge and the blessing and to the financial benefit of these kings and kingdoms, that their predecessors, the predecessors of the now countries of Congo and Benin, and I'm sure there's some other ones up in there that when we start doing the research, then you have a right of action to sue them. Establish jurisdiction. So again, we are basing this legislation on tenets of
Yeah,
law.
but this is the problem. So when I was there's in Benin, which was Dahomey, there's a city on water called Ganvi. If I'm not pronouncing that right, I'm sorry. And these were Africans who were fleeing the slave trade. They left the mainland and lived on the water. So should they be punished for what the king of Dahomey did when these Africans fled the slave trade and didn't participate in the slave trade? Again, it's called Gon. Hold on, let me pull this up. And I took my group there when we were in Benin. Here, let me do this real quick. So are they now responsible too? Here we go. And again, I took my guess here. Ganvi is a lake. Let me blow this up so you guys could. There we go. Ganvi is a lake village in Benin, Africa, lying in Lake Nokoué near Cotonou, with a population of around 20,000 people. It is probably the largest lake village in Africa and is very popular with tourists. The village was created in the 16th or 17th centuries by the Tofanu people who took to the lake to avoid phone warriors who were taking people hostage to sell them to European enslavers. So everybody in that country, everybody in present day Benin, which was once Dahomey, did not participate in the slave trade. So should they now be punished? I mean, I'm asking, should they now be punished? I mean, I'm asking, should they now be punished? Okay, let's go back to
that are well worn of the United States Constitution. Federal jurisdiction. How do we establish that? Under Section 4, federal jurisdiction, U.S. federal courts shall have exclusive jurisdiction over any civil action brought by a foundational Black American against an African sovereign for the acts related to illegal transatlantic slave trade. What that means? That means you sue them in federal court. If you want to sue them, you sue them in federal court. Where? Venue of the actions. Actions under the act shall be brought in the U.S. federal court that meets any of the following criteria. Location of plaintiffs, the district where the majority of the plaintiffs reside, to facilitate access and minimize the logistical burden for them. So in the case of the Clotilda, I believe that's in Mobile, Alabama. So that's going to be in the, I believe, the northern district of the United States, northern district of Alabama. So that's where the lawsuit will be brought against the country of Benin. You sue, and how do you sue? You sue them like you sue any other defendant. You file a lawsuit and you serve them. Defendant's presence, the district where the defendant, or here's another location, the district where the defendant, African sovereign, maintains a diplomatic, consular, or any official presence such as an embassy or consulate. So if the country of Benin has a consulate here in the United States, let's say they have one in New York or DC, you can sue them in DC also. So not only do you sue them in the locus where the vast majority of the plaintiffs would live, but you can also sue them in the locus where their courthouse, the locus where their
Hi, my name's Hannah, and I'm here to show you how students can use Otter to make lectures and campus events.
Embassy is, okay?
I want to read this comment real quick. This proves that their intentions was never to really get reparations. Their intentions was to disconnect themselves to Africa to create a new identity so that they don't have to be. I agree. That's what it's about. And it's to the point now they're saying that they aren't even African or didn't even come from Africa. They're now saying they're Native Americans. The Native American Indians.
Now, historical connection. The district that has significant historical connections to the transatlantic slave trade, events of specific slave trade incidents mentioned in the claim provide that this connection is material to the cause of action. This is just a general catch-all clause. For instance, if we're talking about the Wanderer, where the people ended up in South Georgia, you would sue them in the district court that encompasses the South Georgia region, maybe Savannah or something like that, whatever United States District Court is over there. Okay, so it gives you. So now we've established why we're suing, who can get sued. We've established the definition for both the plaintiffs and the defendants. We've established jurisdiction and venue. So all these questions are answered. Now, what are the exceptions? Okay, the exceptions to sovereign immunity. Human right, and this is section 6. Sovereign immunity shall not apply to cases involving allegations of participation in the transatlantic slave trade by African sovereigns or their predecessors, entities, including specific cases such as the Clotilda or Wanderer incidents. So basically what this is saying is, well, let me say it like this. Typically, a sovereign nation who is sued in the United States can say, well, I have sovereign immunity because I'm an independent nation. You can't sue me. I'm Mexico. You can't sue me. I'm Canada. But by the sheer stroke of a pen and a legislative act, all that goes away because this is America. This is the United States. And for the most part, we can do what we want to do here. And the reason they can't get around that is because if they do business with the United States, i.e. oil refinement, diamond processing, whatever it is, gas, minerals, whatever it is, that means that you have valuable things here. And so if we're able to get a judgment, then we can go collect that judgment in the form of monetary compensation by taking your things and selling them to enact that judgment. You see? So even if they do try to plead sovereign immunity, this act already says, this proposed act already said, nope, you don't get that. Next up, successor state liability. The act recognizes African nations as liable for the actions of their predecessors, states concerning their involvement in transatlantic slave trade. Some of you are saying, again, and I'm going to address this question, how can you sue a nation that no longer exists? Because their successor is right there. Just like IBM and some of these other companies were taken over by some new companies. Oh, well, your successor is there. We'll sue your successor. Yeah, you might not exist anymore, but that's perfectly okay. We're going to sue you. It's the same thing that we do in environmental law. If you have someone who leaves some toxic waste on a piece of land and they move, oh, well, not only are we going to sue the current landowner, we're going to sue the people who owned it beforehand. And that is written into the law. You don't have to like it, but that's the law of the land. And if you avail yourself of the laws of the United States, then you're bound by the laws of the United States. And the great thing about it is the Constitution of the United States and these laws and laws like them have been interpreted and they've been deemed constitutional. So these are sound laws. Some of you are saying, well, it happened so long ago. Section 7 addresses that, statute of limitations. Extended limitations period. What does that mean? The statute of limitations is the time in which you have to file a lawsuit against someone when you feel like when you are an aggrieved party. Now, some of you are saying, well, the Clotilda incident happened back in 1860. That's, what is that, like almost 200 years ago now, 100 and some years ago, over 100? Oh, my God. Well, extended limitations period. Any claim under this act may be brought within 50 years of the enactment of this act recognizing the enduring impact and historical injustices of address. So what does that mean? From the moment the president signs this act into law, you have 50 years to do your research, figure out whether or not you're descended from one of the Clotilda Africans or the Wanderer Africans or some other African who was brought here after 1808. And you can file suit against the African nation who facilitated that transport. Then you can get a positive judgment against them. And then what are the remedies that you get? Okay, so you get 50 years, and this too is not illegal. This too is constitutional. Right now in New York City, they have a Survivors Act. They extended the statute of limitations for like 3 or 4 years for incidents that happened up to 40 years ago.
Apples and oranges.
And same thing happened in California. Same thing happened in Pennsylvania. That's how so many of these people are getting sued, whether it be P. Diddy, Bill Cosby, you name them. So you can do that. You can basically backdate your statute of limitations. And it's all legal because
backdate your statute of limitation to 1808.
this is a sound tenet of American law. Now, what are the remedies? For some reason, a lot of people don't want Black Americans to have money in their hand. They really just have a problem with it. They just have a real problem with it. But what do you get? We can't undo slavery. We can't undo the atrocities of slavery. You want to give us a bunch of scholarships?
Listing your house on the market isn't the only way to sell your house. Selling to us is much faster.
We don't want that. You know what we want? We want money. And so remedies, compensatory damages. Plaintiffs seek compensatory damages for economic and non-economic harm sought. Economic harms, that would be the land that we would have had over in Benin and Congo and these other countries. That would have been the money that the labor that we were forced to endure and uncompensated. Look, all of these people who are participated in slavery, whether they sold us from the African continent or bought us here, they're all liable in solido, which means together. And so whether or not you get this one to pay you or that one to pay you, if the African countries have a problem with it, you know what? They can go sue some of these people in America, some British shipping company if they want to, but we're going to sue them. And we're going to let them do all the heavy lifting. Since since they had country to country treaties, you sue the person who you participated with. We as individuals, descendants, shouldn't have to do that. We're going to sue you because it's one of you as opposed to thousands of defendants. We're going to sue that one defendant. And then if he wants to try to sort out who's at fault, fine. Now, there's also a section in here for punitive damages, where applicable punitive damages may be awarded in cases of egregious conduct to deter similar future actions. So here's the thing. When I look at the captain's log in the Clotilda incident, when the captain arrived to Benin, he said there were 4,000 slaves there waiting to be sold to market. So even though the international slave trade had ended over 50 years before, it was still active. So even though we know about the Clotilda and we know about the Wanderer, there were probably hundreds, if not thousands, of other ships that brought Africans.
Nothing,
to the
AJ,
United
nothing
States.
is logical about this.
And so that's the
Nothing
research. That's research. And for those who participated and it was egregious, I mean, they had envoys come down from some of these European countries, especially the UK, England, trying to convince specifically the king of Dahomey to cut the slavery out. He wouldn't. So his actions were egregious, in my opinion. And so he may be subject to that country may be subject to punitive damages. I get it. I know the Africans, y'all gonna hate this. And I know you back to Africa, Pan-Africans, I know you're gonna hate this too. But at the end of the day, most of the 40-something million Africans here in America want to stay here. We've been here for hundreds of years. We want to stay here. We're not going back to Africa. We may go visit. You all have made that impossible nearly. You know, you've made it nearly impossible for us to come and stay if we wanted to stay. So we're just going to stay here. The least you could do is compensate us for what we lost. We lost the access to the land. Many of the Africans had villages. Many of them had land. They had land titles, if that's what you want to call it, for lack of a better word. And so, you know, even if not, we had use of it.
Many of these kingdoms lost access to the land when they were colonized. What are you talking about? Again, many of them, of the kingdoms that you keep bringing up, lost access to the land when they were colonized. The Dahomey Empire, or the Dahomey Kingdom of King Gezo is not the Dahomey Kingdom of today. Like, what are you talking about? The Oyo Empire of then is back then is not the Oyo Empire of today. So what do you like? That land is gone. A lot of it, the majority of it, the vast majority of it is gone.
And there's compensation for that. The last few parts are implementation of enforcement. And basically it says that an interagency task force shall be established to facilitate and implement this act involving the Department of Justice. This is standard language. And we expect cooperation from these African countries to recognize the enforcement of these judgments. Any part of this is found unconstitutional, it'll be deemed unconstitutional, but the rest will be fine. And the actors shall take effect immediately. And so, again, just to highlight some of this particular act, or this type of act, takes into account a lot of my interactions with African Americans and Africans and people who I've spoken about since I took this project up back in 2021. Those of you guys will recall my series about Africans and their participation in the slave trade. And I took that very seriously. I thought it was shocking. Truthfully speaking, I did not know that Africans participated so heavily in the slave trade, and it was shocking, and it was egregious.
White people did too.
We tend to romanticize Africa.
White people did too.
We tend to hold Africa harmless, but the truth is they were active participants. The African nations and the countries and the countrymen were active participants.
The African nations weren't active because they didn't exist, and not all Africans were complicit. Not all kingdoms were complicit. You're dealing with a few who were, but the majority weren't.
Participants in the slave trade, and they are the reason that we are here, because Europeans were not walking, running, and hunting Africans down in the interior of Africa. People were literally marched hundreds of miles from the interior of Africa in neighboring nations and countries and brought to the shore to be sold to the Europeans. But for the Africans, slavery would have ended a long time ago, because it would have been impossible. It would have been an impossible feat to undergo. So whether you romanticize Africa or not, understand that there's a debt. Whether you have an affinity or love for Africa or not, recognize that there's a debt that needs to be paid to foundational Black Americans. Whether you like it or not, there's a debt that needs to be paid. You can call it karma, you can call it IOU, whatever. But there's a debt that needs to be paid to foundational Black Americans. It's not something that we are supposed to give for free, because when you sold us, and I'm talking to the African brothers and sisters, when your kings and queens sold us into slavery, you were able to take control of the land that we had.
Oh, God.
You were able to take control of the resources that are beneath that land. And you still benefit from what's ours. You don't know what would have happened had we been there. We could have benefited. Our ancestors who were sold into slavery would have benefited from that oil and the resources in the land. But now, by selling us and getting rid of us and sending us over here and having us work for free, you benefited from that. And then on top of that, knowing the plight that we undergone, you didn't bother to come get us. So again, all the issues are addressed. And the bottom line is, for the y'all who I've explained to you that these African sovereigns, whether they existed or not, they're responsible. The predecessors, or the successors, are responsible for their predecessors. That's basic law of corporations. So that answers that question. So I don't want anybody who watches this video Anybody, well, they didn't exist at that. Those countries don't want to hear that. That just means you're stupid, because I've read it 4 or 5 times. I don't want to hear that those nations didn't exist at that time. That means you're stupid. So anybody who says that the nations didn't exist at that time, we cancel, you're stupid. You shouldn't watch this video. Okay. I'd hate to be so harsh. All right. Who is this open to? It is open to foundational Black Americans who can specifically trace their history or their lineage to Africans who were sold into slavery from Africa and brought to this country between 1808, after the international slave trade became illegal, and what?
If your old AC system has struggled to keep up with the summer heat, it might be time for an upgrade. Get a brand new system for only $99.99 per month, installed the next day by the experts at
Get your new AC system for $9.99 a month.
One of the better things that I decided to do in my adult life was to see a therapist.
The biggest barrier to entry has always.
Oh, there we go.
And brought to this country. Now there is a line in here, and I don't see it in this particular draft, but oftentimes they would make incidental stops from Africa. They might stop in Bermuda. They might stop in Jamaica, not to do slave trade, but to get resupply, to supply. We also account for that in the statute. So just because, see, a lot of people will argue me to death about this. You don't like it. There's a number of corporations beneath that land, and you still benefit from what's ours. You don't know what would have happened had we been there. We could have benefited. Our ancestors who were sold into slavery would have benefited from that oil and the resources in the land. But now, by selling us and getting rid of us and sending us over here and having us work for free, you benefited from that. And then on top of that, knowing the plight that we undergone, you didn't bother to come get us. So again, all the issues are addressed. And the bottom line is, for the y'all who I've explained to you that these African sovereigns, whether they existed or not, they're responsible. The predecessors or the successors are responsible for their predecessors. That's basic law of corporations. So that answers that question. So I don't want anybody who watches this video, anybody, well, they didn't exist at that. Those countries don't want to hear that. That just means you're stupid, because I've read it 4 or 5 times. I don't want to hear that those nations didn't exist at that time. That means you're stupid. So anybody who says that the nations didn't exist at that time, we cancel, you're stupid. You shouldn't watch this video. Okay. I'd hate to be so harsh. All right. Who is this open to? It is open to foundational Black Americans who can specifically trace their history or their lineage to Africans who were sold into slavery from Africa and brought to this country between 1808, after the international slave trade became illegal, and what? And brought to this country. Now there is a line in here, and I don't see it in this particular draft, but oftentimes they would make incidental stops from Africa. They might stop in Bermuda. They might stop in Jamaica, not to do slave trade, but to get resupply, to supply. We also account for that in the statute. So just because, see, a lot of people will argue me to death about this. You don't like it. There's a whole bunch of people go, oh, it can't happen. No, I don't care what you think. It's going to happen anyway. If we could get Congress to enact this and the president to sign this, it's done. What are you going to do then? It's nothing. Nothing you can do about it. It's just that simple. It is this piece of paper with the president's signature on it and ratified by both houses of Congress, and it's a done deal. Now, let me tell you something. The biggest adversity that folks who sought reparations have faced has been the idea that we would allow Black Americans to sue American-based corporations, families, individuals in the government, in American courts, to take money from Americans to give it to other Americans. Fundamentally, people have a problem with that because they just have a problem with the redistribution of wealth in that regard. They just have a problem with it, especially considering that slavery was legal at that time. But I can promise you that those people should not have a problem with.
So he's making this case for not suing the institutions here in America that benefited from slavery, but to sue African nations that didn't exist during slavery. This is what he's saying, guys. Am I wrong? Am I misinterpreting this? He's justifying not suing the institutions who benefited from slavery that are still here, but sue African nations that didn't exist during slavery. Am I wrong? Guys, am I wrong? Did I misinterpret that? One more time, guys. His argument is don't sue the institutions here in America that existed and benefited from slavery. Don't touch them, but go after African nations that didn't exist during slavery. So the institutions that existed during slavery and benefited from slavery that are still here, don't touch those. But the countries that didn't exist, the African countries that didn't exist during slavery, let's go after them.
Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, suing these African sovereigns. Why? They don't have any skin in the game. Why would they care if some Black people in America sued some Black people over, or some Black countries or African countries in Africa to bring resources here to the United States? Only a fool would have a problem with that if you're an American. You mean we're going to sue these? We're going to have our foundational Black Americans who are based in Georgia and Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas. They're going to have an opportunity to sue these African nations, these burgeoning countries, and get a stake in their oil and resources and minerals and land that we may be able to purchase or whatever, or get money from them in exchange for their rights. We can pay them money directly. Where's the law center for America? Why would, and if we just want to do it on a racial battle, why would white folks care what Black folks do with other Black folks? I can get why they wouldn't want you suing these white corporations and country and
Man,
families.
you can't make this up, you guys.
But they don't care about us suing. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, the African nations are gonna have very little support here in the United States. The jury is going to be American, the judge is going to be American, and the law is going to be American, and they were clearly wrong. And they haven't been held to task for their participation in the slave trade. If they don't like it, they can file a cross claim against whatever defendant they feel is necessary, and they can deal with that. But as far as Black Americans, we will be made whole. And let the defendants sort it out. Some of you say, well, why do they deserve money? Well, those African nations receive money for our sale. They receive something of value. So why shouldn't we receive something of value for reparations? Why is it that we have to take scholarships? Why don't you give us our money? Give us our gold. Give us our diamonds. We'll take oil. We'll take minerals. We'll take mineral rights. But the African Americans in this country are owed something, and we're tired of asking for it. We had the year of no return, and some of us went, some of us didn't.
When I was accepted to SGU, that was
one of the greatest days of my life. Yeah,
The faculty at SGU really.
But still, you haven't opened up your doors and allowed us to re-enter Africa as easily as you put us out or sold us away. So that lets us know. You saw what we were going through in the 1950s. You didn't come save us then.
They were colonized.
Our women being attacked by German shepherds. You didn't come save us then.
It was colonialism.
You have
Africa was dealing with colonialism. What are you talking about? The majority of countries in Africa were colonized in the 1950s. And a lot of them had no clue what was going on in the 1950s. See, guys, this is the problem. This is why I have an issue with this whole, when, you know, immigrants come to America, they need to understand the Black struggle. Because Black people in America, the majority of us have have absolutely no clue what goes on outside of our bubble. And it shows.
Haven't extended an olive branch other than to say, I'm sorry. And we thank you for your sorry, but you still owe us some money. You still owe us reparations for what you did. Because at the end of the day, the biggest beneficiary of the sale of Africans from Africa have been those other Africans who remained on the land. And where
No, Dennis. Africans in Africa are the few who participated in slavery have absolutely nothing to show for it. Or I'm sorry, the kingdoms, the so-called kingdoms who you want to go after, or the kingdoms you're saying were involved, trust me, have nothing to show for it. Again, the kingdoms have absolutely nothing to show for it. Trust me. The kingdoms who played a part in it. Dahomey. We'll deal with Dahomey. Dahomey has absolutely nothing to show for the slave trade. I'm sorry. They don't. Again, I was just in Dahomey. I was just in the kingdom of Dahomey back in January. They have absolutely nothing to show for it. And that's all these kingdoms. Are the ones who participated in the slave trade, the few, have absolutely nothing to show for it, period.
able to take our resources in the form of the land that we were living on and using and utilizing. You did that. And you don't have to like it. But, you can still be our brother, but you have to pay us what you owe us. And this type of legislation, along with some lawsuits, will help us get that done. And so we as African Americans can finally begin to address the issue of reparations. We can finally put that to rest. Now, this doesn't address all of the African Americans or foundational Black Americans who were enslaved in America, but this is a start. It's a start that sets a precedent. It creates law. It creates a body of law. It will create legislation, and we can build from there. It's a toehold in a mountain that you need to climb. But if put in effect, it will have an immediate effect. It will cause a ripple. It will cause a ripple effect. And I think it's good legislation. It's constitutionally sound. It's based on legislation that's been enacted already. Specifically, I'm looking at the act that grants 9/11 victims the opportunity to sue Saudi Arabia, which is a sovereign nation, for the acts of the individuals in their country, i.e. Osama bin Laden and his crew, for what they did in 9/11. This act it takes tenets from that. So it has been done before. This is not something that's unheard of. So I hope you all listen to this video before you just look at the title, because I'm going to clown you in the comment section. But shout out to all my brothers and sisters. I've been dealing with this for about 3 or 4 years. Do your research. But yeah, foundational Black American slave trade redress.
Are you interested in starting your own faceless YouTube automation channel?
Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, Dynast, first of all, I salute you and Pan-African Strike Back, for over the years exposing this clown. I mean, before I came across you guys, never had of this FBA ADOS whatsoever. It's crazy. Absolutely bonkers. First of all, I live in a city that's well known for transatlantic slavery. And I was born in a country where
Hey, Al, are you on speakerphone or?
No. Is that better?
It's just kind of like an echo.
Oh, okay. Let me just come back. Is that it?
Hello.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So late William Wilberforce came to Sierra Leone. First of all, black British that was in America that fought with the English to keep America under colonialism lost the war, and they brought these free slaves that fought with the English crown to London. And over the years, they struggled to settle in London, and they brought them to a place called Freetown, where you actually are bringing people to obtain citizenship, right? Sierra Leone around 1808 was stopping slaves from leaving Africa to the US, right? And they was actually making sure they enforced the law against slavery. This guy is contradicting himself as he speaks. That's one. And also, when you talk about slavery in Bristol, the black man and the white man were slaves at the same time. It's not to minimize the impact of slavery to black people whatsoever, because I believe black Americans should have reparation from the United States government, not from Africa, right? The Irishman was if the Irishman was £10,000, the black man was £20,000. That's in Bristol, where I live in the city here. It's well known for slavery. If someone is from the UK, they will tell you about Bristol, very known, slave, prehistoric slave town. So basically, they was transported to the US and all over the Caribbean. So it's not limited just to Africans. Slavery was rampant, and those people this guy that actually claiming that us West African were capturing black people and enslaving them. He don't understand there was what they call tribal wars in West Africa. When people get captured and they get sold as slaves for more weapons to fight against the opponent tribes. This is how things went in different parts of the world over the years. And also, when he was talking about Mauritania, that Mauritania, there's still slavery going on in Mauritania. That's not true. They're servants. They're servants in Mauritania. They're not slaves. Even though I'm not going to minimize the suffering of servanthood, but servant, to compare a servant and a slave is basically minimizing the effect of slavery itself. You understand? And people in Africa, a lot of countries actually keep servants, right? So the guy is I think there's something wrong with his head, man. But thank you, Dynast, you and Brandon. You've been doing great job over the years exposing this idiot.
You're welcome.
Pass the mic.
No problem. Go ahead, Chrissy.
Hi, Dynast. How you doing, everyone?
Fine, how are you?
Good. Yeah, so this is a bit confusing because the institution of slavery, even in Africa, it's very convoluted, right? So you had people, yes, who involved in the slave trade. You also had Arabs who were already in Africa and already could reach the interior, who were also involved in the slave trade. You had tribes who were involved and had partnerships with Europeans in different instances involved in the slave trade, who eventually were also enslaved. So how do you know who exactly was involved? Many of the people who were involved ended up being enslaved themselves. There's no way to really determine. So who is he suing? You can't sue nations that didn't exist, that are European creations. Is he suing tribes? It's the landscape of Africa is so different from what it was 500 years ago. It's very hard to pinpoint who the culprit is. So this whole narrative doesn't make sense. And it was kind of mind blowing to hear that, hey, white folk are going to be okay with us, suing other black people. That was just kind of like, whoa. But I don't know who he would be suing, because some of the people who were, committing slavery ended up being enslaved. Who are you suing exactly? You're suing Nigeria. Nigeria is a British creation. Who in Nigeria are you suing? This doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Go ahead.
That would be my question to him.
Say that again?
No, I said that would be my question to him, because some of the people who were, assisting with the slave trade also ended up being enslaved. So how is he determining who to sue?
I don't know. Go ahead, Afar.
Hey, salute to you, Dynast. Salute to you, Chrissy. Yeah, just like that sister said, who the hell are they gonna freaking sue? The entities that they want to sue really don't exist. And then also on top of that, it's just so funny. This dude wants to go towards Africans to sue, but all the Arabs and the Dutch companies and the India company and all these other companies that made a lot of money, and some of them are still around. He ain't talking about suing those people and some other people we ain't gonna talk about either that was involved in the slave trade. Somehow he's not talking about none of them, but he wants to talk about suing African and African nations and kingdoms and all that. So it's ridiculous. And the point I'm gonna land, and I'll try to be concise and real quick about it, is that this again speaks to the weakness that or FBA or Black American or this people who like Knockmeezy think that just because you're Black American, you're the best blacks on the planet because your proximity to the white man. They don't say that, but it's because of their proximity to the white man. They got running water, they got everything and all that. And it's just like, well, if you want to be 100, we kind of got reparations by living in the best country in the world. Not saying we didn't go through struggle and all that. Obviously, we went through a lot of stuff, but we built a lot of wealth in this country, and as Black Americans, we waste a lot of wealth in this country. We don't work together. We do things as a collective that don't benefit ourselves, and then we want to go back and be like, oh, there's systems that are discouraging us and holding us back, and the white man's holding us back, and we got plenty of opportunity because we see Black people succeeding. Because when we get on these panels, ain't one Black person broke. Ain't no Black person they don't have a house. They don't have multiple cars. So apparently on this stage over here, Black people doing pretty damn well. So how come we're begging to the white man again, or excuse me, maybe we're transitioning from begging to the white man for reparations to trying to sue Africans to get reparations. So anyway, I'm landing the plane. It's sad. We're weak as hell. And this is why we need to leave Black America behind and integrate into Africa. It's the only hope Black people have, and I land the plane.
Go ahead, Jose.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm just going to repeat what I was saying in the chat, and thank you for the opportunity to do that. In the 50s, my father witnessed the colonizer, Portuguese, the colonizer, literally tear brothers apart for raising their voice against the colonizer with 2 horses. You know how it works, and you have these long sticks. With which they cut coconuts from the tree, and the people would get that in their behind and pulled out with the intestines pulled out with the whole with everybody gathering in the village yard to witness it, like that's what happens to you when you raise your voice to the colonizer. That was happening with us in the 50s. Then the super chat, white supremacy doesn't exist. It's black subjugation, and this motherfucker just proved it. The Ashanti went around in the Caribbean to apologize, and of course they are offering land to people that want to repatriate. Another thing, in Brussels you have this monument where King Leopold brags about taking in the slaves with the help of teachers, priests, and what was the third? Whatever. You get my point. Then again, you have black scholars looking into history and going through the books to look where people came from. But a lot of it happened in the hands of freebooters. Do we really believe that freebooters were keeping books of where they were stealing Africans? And do we really believe that freebooters were honest tradesmen that approached Africans to buy Africans? Hell no. And then what I also mentioned in the chat was the Caribbean breeding farms. I guess a portion of Black Americans come from these breeding farms, be it in the Caribbean or in the United States, what is called the United States today, because it used to be partially French, partially Spanish, partly Dutch, and of course English. So who are you gonna sue? And another thing, so in America, it's people have this case of repatriation, right? Our colonizer was Portugal, and Portugal went broke in the colonial wars. They spent as much money in the colonial wars as Nazi Germany spent in the Second World War. They went broke. You don't hear us speaking of reparations because these motherfuckers are broke, you know. So yeah, the only one that can sue or go after reparation are Pan Africans. As Pan Africans all together, including FBA and ADOS, all together, we could try to sue these motherfuckers. But I'm going for the destruction of these motherfuckers. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Simply, go ahead.
Man, first thing first, man, I like the direction that your show is going. You know what I'm saying? I looked into your website about the tours you have upcoming, man. You know, hopefully it's more brothers and sisters that want to, you know, look into your business to see what you're doing so they can see, you know, where we came from and get a sense of understanding of what it could have been like if we would have stayed. Now, after saying all that, we have to understand two things. We got to understand that you're gonna have FBA, which technically by their own decree, I am FBA. You get what I'm saying? So, but you have to look at things two ways. You have to look at things from the sense of FBA have a way of saying like, okay, y'all stole us, so y'all owe us. But that's kind of prison tactics. You get what I'm saying? Like they're hoping that the government is gonna act the way the music industry acts with the Jewish people. They won't. They think the United States government is gonna act like the owners of Def Jam or the owners of Arista or Columbia to say, well, you know what? I'm gonna give you $1 million four-wheeler shorty and Boo Boo Ski from Bankhead and a little hot sauce and a little bag potato chips, Glock 33. I'm gonna let y'all do all the bragging about killing each other, beating people, you know, out of money, scamming people, you know what I'm saying, killing females, taking females to the mall, then kill them after you come from the mall, then kill your homeboy, then go to your homeboy wedding, then rob him after the wedding, then hold the son for ransom. You know, I'm gonna let you talk about the most craziest thing to destroy your people. That's his argument. His argument is that white people ain't gonna care if black people kill black people. That's his whole argument. That's what he's hoping for. He's holding up a piece of paper. You get what I'm saying? Now, don't get it wrong. I am a guerrilla hustler. I understand it. So he's betting on the hate that white people have for black people, that he would say, okay, black people, I know I hate you, but you know, if y'all sit up there and kill each other and make each other broke, you know, that's less sweat off my hand. So I understand his logic as a guerrilla hustler, as somebody that wants to see, that's like King Nero, that just want to see everything burns. But the way that he's going about it is that in order for the powers that be to sign something like that, you get what I'm saying? This is something that would be broadcast in the world. You get what I'm saying? That you let your black Americans have free will to go attack an African giant. You get what I'm saying? Which just in the country alone, Nigeria, Dynast, it is 5 times as many black people in Nigeria that it is in America. So we're just talking about one country. We ain't got to Liberia. We ain't got to Ghana. We ain't went to the coast yet. We ain't went to Senegal. They're just focusing on Nigeria. So it's that thing of, if y'all ever watch National Geographic and y'all see the lion just laying on the ground and his cubs is just biting at him and hitting at him, he just sitting there looking at them like they stupid. That's the way white people look at Black Americans. Now, I know that you don't like when I say this, so I'm not going to curse when I say it. The only thing that Black American men offer to the Black community is and disaster and dysfunction. See, it always shocks me when I go against and say something about women. It would always be women in the chat saying not all and everything, and I hate my mama. But what the thing about it is, I'm an equal opportunity to issue out blame. Since Black men don't offer Black women no jobs, they don't offer them no sense of security, they don't offer them any type of loyalty. The only thing a Black man offers is something to either want to put his hands on another Black person or kill another Black person or destroy another Black person, because the powers that be, we don't want to go over there. We won't breathe on a picture of white people. You know what I'm saying? But we see another Black people as a target. It's just like seeing two dogs, just like me driving in my Charger and you driving in your Porsche, and you got a dog and I got a dog, and both of the dogs just jump up in the window like, there go another dog. There go another dog. I know that dog. Where's that dog going? You know what I'm saying? What type of collar that dog got on? I wonder what type of treats he give his dog. He's in a Porsche, so his dog gets better treats. You get what I'm saying? It's the craziest thing in the world. And what he said was that FBA is tired of begging. No. The roles have reversed. Black men is not tired of begging. They just got started. They have took over the role of women. Black men beg more than Black women do, because Black men see that Black women are put on a pedestal. They got all type of programs, even when the media and the powers that be, far as the Democratic Party, they talk about Black women as a powerhouse. They don't talk about Black men. They talk about Black men as somebody that's a follower, somebody that needs to hook themselves to the cart. You get what I'm saying? Pick up the shit that's falling out the cart. You need to be the cleanup behind Black women, and Black men just don't know what to do. So the next thing they can do is just to start begging. You get what I'm saying? Because Black men don't come together to produce anything. At least Black women come together to hate on Black men. But the funny thing is, you got Black men sitting up there like, well, shoot, that's the way to go. Let me join the Black women that hate on other Black men. That's why you got the simps like Derrick Jackson and the poppy pastors, whatever they name. They're talking about whenever you see a woman, just give her $100. If you tell her good morning, send her $500. Just stuff like that. Because the pandering is, some Black men see the hustle, see that pandering is the way to go. So what he is doing is he's pandering to a certain group of people that be like, yeah, that's right. You get what I'm saying? So damn the part that wasn't a kingdom going on. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the only thing as me being a Black American, I don't give a damn if Africa ever recovers from what they're going through. I don't give a damn if Nigeria let's say not, because Africa is a continent, so let me be clear. I don't give a damn if Nigeria never gets its blackout problem solved. I don't give a damn if it never gets its sanitation and water solved. You get what I'm saying? Like, when I go to Africa, when I just got back, I like the point that my dollars go to anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 naira. I like that my dollar, when it goes to Kenya, it goes far. So I'm going to play the game the same way the colonizer do. I'm not coming to Africa to help nobody. That's the Black American in me. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, my money can't save Africa. So I'm not going to even come over there and put on a front. I'm not going to jump off the plane, kissing the nasty ass ground, you know what I'm saying, shaking my ass on the way to the goddamn hotel. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna see it for exactly what it is. It's a place that I can go to where my American dollars goes 10 times further. I go to the grocery store in Kroger, I get an avocado, it's cost $1. I can go to Nigeria and get 5 avocados for 50 cents. That's what I'm going there. That's the only thing I want to be. I don't never want Nigeria, Ghana, Benin. I don't never want it to be equal to America. You get what I'm saying? Because I do have a bone to pick by the way slavery happened. And I know that the powers that be had a foothold in it. So unlike the people, I appreciate the tours. I appreciate the people that want to go. We don't have the manpower to help Africa. Africa's gonna have to stand up on his own. You get what I'm saying? So that's the only thing that I agree with them on is to romanticize. I don't romanticize when I go to Africa. I use my Western privileges to make my life better in Africa. And I land that plane, my brother.
Uncle Sim, I'm gonna call you Uncle, call you my Monday brother. You got the Monday bloodline. You're my uncle. But basically, can I ask you a question? If this is gonna be a very funny question, because I did ask another sister quite a while ago. If you had the option, to fight for Africa to defend America, would you fight for Africa to defend America, or would actually fight, in the American side? Which side would you pick if America or Africa was at war? I'm not saying it will be. But which side would you pick, Uncle Sim? Africa to defend America. Would you fight for Africa to defend America, or would...
Hey, Hot Tempo, you gotta turn off the playback. Simp, he asked you a question. Simp, you there? All right, Hot Tempo. Go ahead, Simp.
Oh yeah, I heard him.
Okay.
You gotta. He asked you a question.
Can you respond?
Go ahead with the gist of it. I didn't hear the front part of it, but the last part. Go ahead with the gist of it again.
Okay, it's only because the reason I'm asking this because I have been in platform. I spoke to different Black American brothers, African Americans, and also we have some Pan Africans in the continent who are trying to mix all African Americans as the same. And I know that differences between African Americans. I know the difference. I know, for example, Brother Didnt and Brandon, their cause in Africa is totally different to some, like the guy that just spoke here, what we call Didnt, right? He's an FBA. His ideology is totally different. I'm just asking if America was, having some trouble with the continent of Africa, which side would you pick? Would you pick the side of Africa, or would you pick the side of America?
If America have a beef with Africa, I would definitely stay on the American side because that's where I'm at. You get what I'm saying? I don't have any. I don't even have. Hold on, let me answer the question because you asked in a long way. So it's not just a simple. It's not just a simple short yes or no. But I'm gonna say America side because I live in America. My kids are in America. My bank account is in America. My business is in America. My home is in America. My 401k is in America. You get what I'm saying? Now, because of that, it's certain levels when you say that I'm on the side of them. Will I help them fight against Africa? No, I won't. You know what I'm saying? Would I let my son fight in a war to fight Africa? No, I will not. But I will still be on the side where I live at. You get what I'm saying? Just in theory. But I will not raise my hand or help or strategize to fight against another group of Black people. So you got to, see, you know what I'm saying? I answer that question for you in its most correct form. You get what I'm saying? It's not just a simple yes or no question.
No, you're a very honest guy. You're a very honest guy, Uncle Sim. That's why I always, appreciate you, when you come on. I listen to you a lot. And you speak, from the bottom of your heart. You're a honest guy. I appreciate the answer. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Let me pass it to Ola. Go ahead, Ola. Mute yourself.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much. Mr. Sim. So be honest, man. You see, this is what we Africans always believe, that it's okay. We're all Blacks. It's okay. But you see, when America want to invade Africa, the first people they will use first, they will throw us a lot of black Americans as soldiers. Because why? They might have the tough skin to handle the weather and to take on us more. This black Americans say, man, let us get down these goddamn Africans down, man. You understand? So what we're seeing now, if we don't know about black Americans, not just black Americans alone, the Jamaicans also. All those people that left 500 years ago, they don't have emotions towards us as native Africans. Let me just be honest to you. You understand? So which you have to also have in mind. That doesn't mean
I'm so sorry to interrupt. They don't have what?
No,
So now you said
forget that,
I
man.
just want-
I'm not here to do kumbaya, my sister.
No, I didn't hear what you said. They don't have something. Could you say that again?
Look, let me just tell you the truth. You see that guy that want to sue Africa? He just wake up, maybe eat too much GM food. It's to sue. First of all, a lot of FBS say they're not Africans. We have a record of these guys say they're not Africans. Out of the blue, out of money, you're Africans. Then you have to tell which ethnic group you're coming from Africa. You have to tell which king sold you from Africa. You understand me? So what you have to understand, it might be easy. All this process of let's come back or let's be this, like that, all these are just facade. You understand me? Because we know, because what Sim just said, he will take the side of America one, because he doesn't have no connection to Africa. But you have to understand, the Europeans that came, even the Americans white, they would choose the side of Europe first. So that's what you said, that when everybody said, oh, we allow they came over here, you didn't allow no damn Africans to come to America. Because if you allow them to come to America, you will not be clapping your hands when the Haitians will be beaten by a white man on the horse. You'll be saying, oh, they'll be beaten. You don't have no love for them Africans. You just have love for yourself. That's why that when you said, when you proclaim that you're from Africa, we really believe that you're not from Africa. So all this was these are Africans, this Africa. No black migrant, black Americans ever forced. I want this people to be here. I want them to be here right now, like the way the Mexicans and the Latinos are doing by shipping in their people. But when these Africans came into it and live in this country like America, being controlled by the white man, you start seeing FBS and say, oh, we create the space for you. Why the Africans didn't fight that space you say you create for them to come to the United States? That's just what I want to say.
Yes, Ola. I mean, Ola, we got to make a difference between a brother like Didnt and Brandon, this African American branch, and also the FBA or ADOS, because these are totally different. And also, Uncle Sim made one point clear. He said he's not going to go to war on any other side, but because he got a bank account in the US, he got his family there. He got to look at his own family interest also. So he's been logical. Not only has been honestly, answering the question, but he's been logical. But however, he's totally different to that lady that I spoke to on that other show. I don't want to name other show here. She was like, really, really hate Africans. Basically, she was saying, I have nothing in common with you. We're not the same bloodline, and stuff like that. So we Africans also have to differentiate this, because otherwise we're just going to be as bad as those FBA and the ADOS that we're claiming to criticize, right? So we have to have a logic, we have to see this like, how do you call it? Like, because Europeans, you mentioned Europeans, for example, right? We know Europeans, left Europe, in the UK or European continent and went to America. And if America and Europe had problems, their legion would also split. So, things like this are very important to, to have clear in mind when we speak, because they're not all the same and they're not all the same, just to remind you that also, Kidola. So let's put the emotions aside.
Let me pass the hot tempo. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So one thing I found out just recent is that Gambia banned outlaw slavery. Okay, and this is all before like the 1800s. And then the Mali Empire, they had this thing called the Mandate Charter or something like that. And it outlawed slavery. It's like the first constitution. So it's like everything we've been told, we just can't go off that. We got to go evaluate things, because John Hawkins, if you read his book, he said they were short on slave quotas, so him and his men had to raid some villages. And he was like, this time they was prepared. They had poisonous arrows. He said he had lost like 9 men. They would do, like, you just can't believe just because they said it. Like they told us, they talk about Aristotle and Euclid. Them motherfuckers never existed. Never existed. And so I think we gotta just like reevaluate some things and don't be like letting them off the hook. Oh yeah, put it on the app. No, we can't do that.
All right, cool guys. Links in the chat room. Link is in the chat room if you want to call in and add to the conversation.
To the last, yes, to the last brother.
Hold on, I'm not done yet. If you want to call in and add to the conversation, please click on the link. Again, if you want to call in, add to the conversation, please click on the link. Hey, if you disagree, if you support Dennis, call in. Click on the link. Go ahead.
Those people are not going to call in, Dynast, because they have no. They have no leg to stand on. You get what I'm saying? Because when a person like Dennis talking, he has nobody that comes in and rebut anything that he's saying. It's just him saying something, him calling people stupid if he don't agree. That's not a conversation. What you're doing is having a conversation. So it's just like with anything with black people, when we get to the point that we start acting like the women that raised us, and if the day can be Monday, and I know even though the day is Thursday, it's gonna be the Monday because I told you today is Monday. I pay the bills, you stay up under my roof, so whatever I say, go. That's the type of people that we are. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, even though black people, we are emotional, you know what I'm saying? Nobody raised the roof. We make the best songs and hymns, sang the best songs and sang the best hymns in church. Nobody shake their ass in church better than black people. Nobody plays the organ better than black people. Nobody plays the drums with toothpicks or forks and knives on better than black people. We are selfish people. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If it doesn't affect us at our doorstep, we care from a distance. We throw white Jesus prayers, you know what I'm saying, like Joe Montana. You get what I'm saying? But Dinah, the first time I realized how selfish black people really was when we had the ice storm in Atlanta about 6 or 8 years ago. I don't know if you was here.
No,
then.
I was in LA, but so what happened? Go ahead.
So this when it just overnight all the road, because in America, in Atlanta, we didn't have none of those machines that put the salt down and whatever. But overnight, we had the most rain and the lowest temperature ever. You get what I'm saying? And everything froze. So the roads was froze. You couldn't move. You couldn't do nothing. And you had all these black people in Atlanta were just stuck in front of people's houses. People was going on the internet showing all these pictures of black people stuck on the roads in front of their house, up the street. Instead of black people going out there to help, to go out there and give these folks a blanket, to take some of the gas out their car to give it to them. Black people sat online and were just praying. That's all they started doing, was praying and putting up prayer emojis and taking pictures. You get what I'm saying? None of them helped. None of the black people. What you talking about in Atlanta? So I'm telling you, in the heart of Atlanta, not out there in Buckhead. Cause at least the white people out there in Buckhead had sense enough not to go. Black people don't have enough food in their refrigerator the last 3 days, so they still trying to make it a Walmart and Kroger. You know what I'm saying? But the black people would not go out there, invite nobody in their house, even let them sleep in the garage. They just left them out there in their car and were just praying online. Because we got this weird thing, and it's definitely in Africa too, that I don't have to give you nothing as long as you got King Jesus. Long as you got King Jesus, you got all you need. I'm not gonna provide for you. I'm not gonna assist you with help, but you got King Jesus. So you got the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, the Creator, the Alpha and Omega. You don't need my blanket. You don't need my water. You know what I'm saying? Because I gave you prayer. And if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move Stone Mountain and put it in Alaska. That's the type of dumb shit that we say to each other. That's why you have black people in America, when they get cornered in a conversation or something going wrong, they start talking about Jesus. When I went to Africa, I saw the Africans doing the same thing. Everything that came out their mouth. When I went to Kenya, everything came out their mouth was Jesus, oh, I beg, oh, Jesus, oh, I beg, oh. That's all came out their mouth.
Yeah.
Right,
No, I understand the frustration.
Let me pass it to Amar. Go ahead, Amar.
Hello, how y'all doing? I'm not gonna be here long, but I just wanted to bring some up. I wanted to let this Dennis guy know that first of all, 60% of the tribes, the small Africa tribes, of the 3,000 Africa tribes, 60% of them are smaller tribes. If you want to, before the advent of the slave trade, the bigger tribes expanded their kingdoms. They went and conquered the territory of the smaller tribes and added them to their tribe, to their tribe, to expand their kingdom. That's what was going on. So the big tribes had a big say. I come from a small tribe. 99% of my tribe were prisoners of war. The Timni tribe of Sierra Leone. So we don't owe anybody jack. Not a goddamn thing. That's all I got to say. I'm out.
Amara hit the nail in the hammer there, because the reality is, Sierra Leone, Liberia, this were the outposts of the Mali Empire. When that empire was crumbling, they were stepped on. All this little tribe that was, underneath them was stepped on. In fact, those tribes that you see in Sierra Leone and Liberia, these are runaway tribes from the Mali Empire, because, they didn't want to get involved, in those dramas in the Mali, because the leader in the Mali Empire was weak. They don't want to be under their rulership. So they ran to Guinea, Sierra Leone, and today Liberia, right? So later on, they got hunted by the people that they ran away from. Unfortunately, my people and some of the Manding, tribe, are the bigger tribe, and they happen to be one of the last branch that left the Mali Empire that came to the coastal region. So he's making sense, but the problem is what Dennis don't understand. The people that he's talking about now, if you come to Syria, if you come to West Africa, the Manding group, all the Manding group and the Fullers, we already offered land to African Americans, Liberia and the western part of Sierra Leone. We actually, gave land to the British, a space for them to stop slavery, right? And most of these slaves that was taken off the Atlantic Ocean, slave that was coming from Nigeria and some part of Congo, So basically, these were the people that were still, carrying on selling slaves, unfortunately, after the 1808. That's a fact. You can't run away from that. But if you want reparation, leave us, the Fullers and the Manding people in the West Africa alone, because we've done our best. We gave Liberia. Why can't he come to Liberia, Mr. Dennis? Why can't you come to Liberia or come with Didnt to Sierra Leone and see what you can get and what you can invest and do better for yourself and your FBA people? But unfortunately, the way FBA sounds, I don't think they are the people that we can trust in the continent, because they sound like they will be the enemy within. We'd rather have, African American brothers, the genuine brothers like Didnt, Brandon, those Pan-Africans that have, the genuine, black mind, the heart of a black man, to come in the continent and, join their ancestors in the continent and build something. There's no way you can actually carry on talking about reparation, in the US, thinking Africans, that are actually currently struggling from the symptom of colonialism, can give you any penny. It won't happen. It's just a dream, man. He's a coward. Basically, you cannot ask a white man for reparation, so you have to ask the Lord. It's like someone that is actually been, he's a victim. The guy is a victim. When you look at his eye, you can see he's a coward. That's all I got to say.
All right, guys, links in the chat room if you want to call in and add to the conversation, you can. Again, links in the chat room if you want to call in and add to the conversation. You can. I wish a lawyer was on here, man, because I wonder you know, I wish. Hey,
Yeah, I was wondering where your boy was at.
yeah, I wish a lawyer was on here so he could we can.
But Dinus, you don't even need a lawyer. Like, did you hear what he said? That he said that companies that no longer a company just because they sell it off to somebody, they're still liable. No. See, as a lawyer, just me with my business, Dinus, if I sell my business to you, only thing you take up is my debt. Do you get what I'm saying? You don't take up what I did when I first opened up my business 15 years ago. That had something to do with if it was sexual or some type of lawsuit. If that lawsuit was not on my books or on my debt when you bought the company, that's it. That's crazy. You don't even need a lawyer to understand that. So with him saying that, because I think he used the term IBM. You know what I'm saying? If IBM was bought by Microsoft, and then somebody come back and say, well, when the Commodore 64 was created, it was a woman that got great there, so we're gonna sue Microsoft. No, you can't sue Microsoft. When when an entity take over another entity, and with the way it works is it's simple paperwork. You don't even have to be a lawyer. You take over the contracts. No, change. You take over the contracts, but the contracts still have to be negotiated in good faith in 30 to 90 days. That's just a regular business contract, Dinus. So, and then whatever debt, if I file bankruptcy or something like that, that's settled, and you have to present that to the federal government in the city or the state what that business is in. If that was the case, if they was under bankruptcy. But only thing you accumulate the debt, it's just Dinus, it's the same thing in the NFL, the same way with Russell Wilson when he left Denver to go to Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? Denver had to eat that debt because of the contract that was presented. You get what I'm saying? It happens all the time when a player get traded to another team. The other team have to eat that under their cap. You get what I'm saying? But you cannot, if a girl come out and say, hey, Russell Wilson ain't a nice guy, he did something to me back in high school, you can't sue the new people that took up his contract. You don't even have to be a lawyer to understand that. You get what I'm saying? So now you're talking about something from 400 years that didn't exist with just some open land, people just living outside in open lands. And then on top of that, once the British came in, they carved it up the way they carved it up. And then on top of that, Nigeria's still keeping the same name, just like many other African countries. Like, it doesn't even make any sense on its face as a person like me that ain't never did any law. You get what I'm saying? So, and another thing, they was talking about the Congo and King Leopold. Let me explain something to y'all about this King Leopold thing. People like to blame King Leopold for what happened in Belgium. King Leopold never stepped foot in Congo. Never. You get what I'm saying? He just he was just like the head boss. He was just like El Chapo. He was just like Pablo Escobar. He was sending the people, he was just making the declarations. The Congo, it was a Congo regiment that was killing their own people. It was like 15 to, it was 15 to, let me tell y'all something, because I was clueless to this. But I did my research, not just on YouTube. I went into the paperworks and everything, and I was shocked because I seen pictures of King Leopold with holding black boy's hand with the arms cut off. And then I read it and I was like, oh shit. He never stepped foot. Hold on, let me finish real quick. I'm gonna land the plane. He never stepped foot in Congo. He never did. And the thing that they tend to leave out about Africa, that it was a regiment in Congo, their own brothers and sisters, that was killing them, that was chopping their hands off, that was making them work, that was beating them on the rubber plantation. This is what we do as Black people. We don't see each other. Nothing other than a color. That's just the way we see each other. Yeah, it's a few of us that get along. You know what I'm saying? But at the most part, a white person can come up to damn near any Black person to pay him to go slap the shit out of his next door neighbor, and a Black person can do it. They don't have to step foot on the continent to bring it down. When you got people that look like you, talk like you, dress like you, eat with you, play with you, go to school with you, die with your parents, live amongst you, that will subjugate you. And I pass the mic.
I just want to say one thing quick, just to add to what you, and add further context to what you said, Sim Police, so that folks understand the way that they created these regiments during the colonial period is when you did have the Europeans who would come in and they would find a village and actually slaughter the parents. And then the children would be raised by missionaries and Christianized and indoctrinated from a very young age. And then those would be the young people, or mixed breed. Those would be the young people who would therefore be the buffer between the rest of the locals and the colonizer. And they obviously don't, they're raised and brainwashed in a different way. They don't see themselves as part of the people, though they look like the people. So I just want to be clear that this is a tactic that was used across Africa. It was also used in South America as well during the colonial period. So I just want to be clear that it's not just a random African who's like, hey, I don't know you, white man, but yeah, I'm going to chop off my neighbor's hand for you. No, that wasn't the case. These were young people who were taken from their parents, taken from their village, Christianized at very early age, indoctrinated, and then brought back into the community to basically spread chaos. So I just want to make
that's true, Chrissy. Hold on for a second, Al. Let me push back on that a little bit.
No problem.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened years down the road, Chrissy. But they didn't start off with kids off the rip. That's my whole point. So this is one of those things to where two things can be right at the same time. See, that's the difference between me and most Black people. I recognize that two things can be right at the same time. What you're saying is 100% true. But when they first came over there, and I forgot the other guy that was his person that was going around, forget his name, that was going around setting up establishment, setting up ports, and that what was his name?
Stanley Moore.
Exactly. That's exactly his name. He was going to different tribes, you know what I'm saying, and paying them. These was nobody that was tricked. These was nobody that was kids. These was people that didn't like other tribes.
Right, yeah, I understand.
That's all, Chrissy, all I'm saying is that I agree with you, but that's not the genesis of the story. When I give out my information, I just like to give the information from the beginning to the end. So your part helps out with my story somewhere in the middle. That is true, because they have the same thing with the kids over there when the Civil War was going on. They would kill their parents and bring up their kids and make their kids into jihadists or, rebels. They did that too, but not from the beginning. From the beginning, there was able-bodied men that before these white men stepped on the continent, when they saw them, came over there, these white men gave them a job, and they was willing participant to subjugate and enslave each other. And Black people, they saw themselves as they wanted to prove to themselves that they was different from the rest of the people in the Congo. It's the same way that Black Americans do it on the job in America when they want to kiss white people's ass. They want to show the white man that they different from the other Black people that's out there. You get what I'm saying? I'll turn on that Black person from you. I'll tell on them. I'll tell you where they sneak and go on lunch break. I'll tell where they go hide 15 minutes when the time to clock out. You get what I'm saying? We always had those type of people in our community. We call them shit either. We call them coons. You know what I'm saying? I got another name for him, but I am not gonna say it on Dinah's show because he's trying to move forward with the speech and the lingo that goes on over here. But we have those type of people, and that's something that I don't understand, because even much as white people hate each other, they fight each other, drop bombs, send missiles and everything. When it's time for them to come together and crucify, they put all that shit aside. As much shit as America talk about Russia, you still got them working together to put spaceships up in space, work on the space station. They still working together with nuclear fuel and nuclear gas. Even when they dropping bombs, they letting the other people know. They're not just dropping bombs in secrets. They're not doing no tribe raiding in the middle of the night like what's going on in Africa. Before America do a strike in any country, they let their partners know that they're gonna do a strike. It is nothing hidden. There's no surprise attacks. But we don't do that as black people. We come to each other like a thief in the night. That's how we come at each other. And that's what I don't like about us as people. And I pass the mic.
Thank you, Uncle Sam. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, we need to move on from this slavery topic. It's just holding us back. I mean, for me, based on what I've studied, from different libraries, goes back to the Mali Empire, to the Tuklo Empire. In fact, the Fulani, when Fulani talk about slavery, involvement in slavery, of course, all big tribes were involved in slavery. But most of the time, most of the stuff I read about the Fulani involvement in slavery, it was during the Almoravid. That was a slave from north, from Europe to Africa. That was a white man being captured from Europe, brought to Africa, where Morocco is today. If you look at most of the Moroccans, they pretend their father's side is actually European. These were slaves that was captured by the Tuklo and the Berbers, brought back to Africa as slaves. So the Spanish and the Portuguese were slaved by our ancestors, West African and the Moors, years before transatlantic slavery began. I mean, our ancestors used to transport slaves from the Ghana Empire all the way to the Arabians, and slaves used to be brought from the Arabians to the Sahel. Those days wasn't based on color, right? For me, basically what I see, what happened to the European slavery, transatlantic slavery, it was color-based slavery. At the end of it, it actually become color-based slavery. However, the tribal wars were the reason why they were invited, because we already retreated, after Alfonso the Great, in Spain. People can see what they like, but I know for the fact, and these guys were actually brought to Africa, just like the way you see people are bringing the Russians today in the continent, right? The Russians are coming in, pretending to be helping, this Sahelian state until they settle down, because they come in to fight jihadists. The American came in, built their bases, and what did they do over the years? 10 years, they failed to fight the Tuaregs in the north. And now this government in the Sahel get rid of the Americans, and the French. What did they do? They brought the Russians, right? It's a similar trend. Africans never learn from the past. It will always happen. We're just dumb and stupid. Tribalism is what held us back. And the only time I know West Africa became united under one umbrella is when they actually united under beliefs. When they unite under belief, they tend to work together. But when they actually become tribal shit, they always divide, and outsiders come in and conquer. It's the same thing. Anywhere you go in the world, black people are divided. They can never be united. I think it's just in our blood to be divided. Simple as that.
Let me ask a question, Dynast, and this to everybody. You honestly think you could go on davidelsis.org, slaveboys.org, and they track 35,000 slave voyages? You honestly think that black people, like it was a chief, you could take it back to a chief and it was a bill of sale? You honestly believe that shit? I don't believe it. 35,000 slave voyages? I don't believe that. I believe that the British, like they were, them motherfuckers wiped out 165 million people in India in a 40-year span. Their barbaricness and they disregard for like other races is so potent. Like Bobby Hemmett was saying, we gotta stop thinking they think like we do. Like they go places. Where the Tasmanian people at? They wiped out. What the people in Argentina? They white. It was black people all in all them places. New Zealand. And I just don't buy it. Like that you could say the Fulani did this, but you look, that's just one tribe. None of y'all can like name five of them. Show me what.
And the Baba Tuareg, you know, the Tuaregs, and the Tuareg,
involved
and
like
the North, the tribes that you see in West Africa today.
I just can't buy that, bro. I'm just saying it don't make any sense. But I know what I can buy. I can buy. Do I believe what the Hebrew Israelite brothers be saying? I think they got a lot of stuff misconstrued. But I went to the Hebrew the Negroes when he came, because they do real good research, and they showed when they came down from fucking Spain, the Ashkenazi Jews, and they was capturing people in the Congo. They were just shipping these. They went slave. They like went retarded in Africa, just stealing. Like let's go dig up the graves. Let's go back and get the gold. Let's go. It's like they couldn't help it. They had lost their mind in Africa, and I just don't buy that. It was just like a particular tribe. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't believe it was like five, because the Zulu Nation, was they selling slaves? No, they was doing like the brother said. They were like bigger tribes would take the little ones in, after they beat them down a little bit.
Zulu Nation wiped out a lot of the other non-African, other non-Bantu. Zulu Nation wiped out the Khoikhoi and the Khoisan.
My brother, you see, when I think when people live in America, you just think Africa just
they don't understand African history.
They're just running around.
So sad.
They don't have no politics. Let me just hold on. Let me tell you something. Africa have policies. Africa have armies. Some of these tribes have soldiers. Some of these tribes are well organized. The way you put your measure Africa, these are just men who just run around the bush or the jungle. You understand? These are well organized soldiers. The techniques that they're using today in the battlefield, whereby spotters. I'm from the Benin Kingdom. You understand? I'm from the Benin Kingdom. Benin have spotters. Spotters. That means spies. They can spot enemy coming towards their boundaries. You understand? These are men who fought battles, how to encircle an enemy. These encirclements of enemy, they just start now. They spread around. These are not just bunch of people, because would that just people say, oh, Africa, these who want to save Africa? Africa have policies. A lot of kings lose their lives if you misbehave. Just one little mistake, you can be gone. They will chop your head off. So you have to understand, these are well-organized society. These are society who have hierarchies, and hierarchies. So whatever happened, up to today, will you hear the word called Calabar or Calabedarians? Some of these Calabedarians, some of them are slaves also, who also kind of like fused into a tribe with the Joypo there by that creek region of the Gulf of Guinea. You understand me? The judge of Opobo. These are slaves who become king later, where they trade these oils in Nigeria. If you enter some other area, I believe the Africans didn't know that how cruel the white man type of slavery is when they take these guys over, because they thought it's their own system type of slavery, whereby you become domestic slave, they free you, some of them become kings, some of them marry the king's first daughter, establish their own kingdom somewhere. You understand? And still, these American ones, this guy that is speaking, this FBA one, is a little bit confusing to me. We have to talk about some Caribbean countries, some that still carry some of these words, some of these names, some of these food terms that these Africans are still using. I think Trinidad have such words of Akara and all these things. The Brazilians that came back, they occupy land in Lagos, the king, but those ones agree that they're Africans. You understand? You cannot just say, oh, why the regular person you are not Africans? How do you do? Oh, we're Africans now. No, you don't go like that. The Brazilians that came back to Lagos, to other places they went to, they don't believe I'm African. They settled down. The most hottest place in Lagos are being occupied by this. They're what they call the Lagosians. They're just fusing there.
The first ever emir of Morocco was a Fulani guy. He was a Fulani. Morocco that you see today was given to those Berber Tuaregs after they was chased out of Spain, right? When Alfonso the Great chased them out of Spain, our ancestors gave them a refuge. Then obviously as time goes on. As I'm saying, I see the problem with a lot of black people. They don't want to believe in their own history. If you come to England, this region I live in, the west of England, I don't know if you heard about a town called Bath. Now, the recent study they've done, it's not even recent. In fact, the man that invaded England, the military officer that invaded England, is actually linked to those people. If you go to the museum in England, they will tell you the people that introduced trousers in England are the Berber Tuaregs that introduced trousers in Europe, not even in England, in the entire European continent. The guy that invaded England properly, under the Roman Empire, was a black military general, from southern Libya. He was a black Tuareg, right? His body, as we speak, is buried actually in York. If you go to York Tower, if you ever manage to come to England and visit, his body is actually buried in the York Tower. So when you sit in there, underestimate this, the Romans were actually savages also, just like those white people, as I said to you. If you don't believe what I'm saying, that slavery was a vengeance against black people, then continue, calling me babbling or whatever, until you start reading your real history and stop, going on around and hating yourself. You're not going to have any self-esteem as people. You're just going to be looked at as weak.
It will take some time.
Yes.
It will take some time because even the Sierra Leone you're from, when Sierra Leone were revolting, the British went to Barbados to brought the Barbados guys there to come and fight their own brothers. You understand me?
No, we had we had the Maroons. We had the Maroons that brought to Sierra Leone. We had the Black British that in fact Sierra Leone. Yeah, people should be queuing up behind diners when it's coming to Sierra Leone. If they really care about this, in fact, I'm begging you FBA guys, if you really actually care about your history, based on your ideology, you should be the guys that actually want to come to Sierra Leone and learn about Sierra Leone history, because Sierra Leone was actually formed by this FBA guy, the African Americans who fought within the English side, to keep England under the Queen, but the English actually decided to bring these people back to England.
Thomas Peters was one of them.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Didnt.
Actually, Thomas Peters was a Yoruba from Nigeria.
Thank you. So they brought them back to England, and eventually, right, to resettle them to a town called Freetown in Sierra Leone. Then other slaves from Virginia, the Maroons from Jamaica, and stuff like that. Listen, you need to stop being so arrogant and ignorant about your history, about yourself, about your race. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of who you are, so you can actually bring your children up to have a bit of self-esteem in them. Stop going online and complaining about the race and start begging, the people that actually impose so many crime in you and your ancestors. It's actually shameful. It's actually disgraceful.
And let me explain something to y'all real quick. One thing that one of the biggest Jedi mind tricks that America and other European countries did is that they came over to Africa. Yes, they did divide and conquer. Yes, they did come up with schemes. You get what I'm saying? So they came up with all these schemes to turn black people against each other. But at the end of the day, you got to have some type of want to turn you against people that, think about it like this. Think about you somewhere in an area where you have never seen a white person before. So for thousands of years, only thing you see is people that look like you and talk like you, Dynast. People that your sisters and sons and daughters, learn to hunt with the same people, Miss Chrissy. You get what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, a white man show up on the boat. You know what I'm saying? He bring over some bags of rice, some bags of sugar, and some fire water. And all of a sudden, you like, shit, man, this other village over here, I don't really like them like that. You know what I'm saying? It's whatever, you give me a bag of rice, and I go there and round them up for you. You get what I'm saying? It's crazy on this face to think that we had so much unity. We would sit up here kumbaya, singing together, eating at each other like the movie Avatar. You get what I'm saying? Like we were just so much harmony. And then some white person came off a boat with a handkerchief, wiping the sweat off his forehead. And it was just that easy, to turn turn millions of people, just one boat full of white people, you know, from the start, turned all these people. Get the jealousy and envy is there. And any of y'all that's not going to be honest and recognize that part of it is crazy on its face. That's why nobody ever takes us serious as black people, because we never take accountability. We always want to say that it was the white people, the end. They came in and they got some Tide and Gang soap and some Clorox, you know what I'm saying, mixed it with some brain matter and brainwashed us to look at each other the other way. The level of enviness and turmoil have to already be there. You get what I'm saying? You can't break a family. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can come and with me and my two sisters and bring my sisters $5 million and say, well, you know what? We don't want you to kill your brother. We just want you to tell us where he drive trucks at, and you know, we'll do the rest. Because our family unit is tight. You have to find the cracks in the boat. You got to find the chinks in the link. You get what I'm saying? That's the only way that it can. Hold on, let me finish. That's the only way it can happen. Because if it was me and my family at those shores when those white people came off the boats, we would have hung them. We would have dragged them off the boat, stuck spears in their ass, and set them right back on their boat out there wherever they was going, so they can drift in the ocean by themselves. Because we would know that they're different. You get what I'm saying? We ain't never seen these people. We've been living okay amongst each other. Why the fuck would we welcome them when they don't? Clearly they're superior with just, they came on some boats. They came with stuff that we never saw before. Why would they need us, Diners? Think about it like this. Why would Jeff Bezos come in the hood, Diners? He come what use do he have in the hood unless he's have an ulterior motive? That's the only reason why he would come over there. Why y'all think Bill Gates is in Africa? He don't need Africa. He has an ulterior motive. He made his billions right here in Silicon Valley and San Francisco and places like that. So I'm just telling you the way we think in our family unit. You get what I'm saying? The only thing we can do for you is to be up under you. You ain't coming over here to be equal with us. You already got a boat. You already don't sail from miles away. What the hell you coming for us? So we standing over here with banana leaf thongs on, you know what I'm saying? And fucking shoes made out of coconuts and shit. The fuck you need us for? That's how I would have looked at it. It'll be nowhere in the world I would have welcomed them white people when they said, it's nowhere in the world I would have gave them rice. It's nowhere in the world I would have gave them shelter. They would have met the tip of the spear and the axe deep in their ass. That's what they would have got. That's what they should have got. But since it was already bullshit going on as far as the tribalism that still operates today, certain people welcomed them. And when they saw that they can be played up under and get some type of leg up over other people, they welcome it. Now, I say again, y'all, I did not say that King Leopold didn't have anything to do. I said that he put out orders. I just said that he never stepped foot in Africa. And anybody that say he did, you're a lying. He even says, his country says it. No one, everything that I read in anything, he never stepped foot in Africa. He had proxy men. And the way that, and what I read myself from the histories and the letters, that he had 15,000 army of Congolese men from different areas. He had 5,000 in 3 different areas to keep up with the people, to make sure the people done right. Of course, he had his cronies that was overseeing them. But at the end of the day, it was still more Congolese people that was oppressing its own people with the help, the overseers of the cronies. So I never said that. He don't get no excuse. It's just like that's why Pablo Escobar and El Chapo didn't get a pass. If they put out the order and people do, that's what you got. That's what you call RICO. You know what I'm saying? It's influence. If you can influence, that's why Charles Manson was in there. Charles Manson didn't kill nobody, but it was his influence. It's bravado. For whatever reason, people are attracted to people that have some type of grandiose type of being, a grandiose saying. But to sit up here and make like white people got some magical claw rocks that is just that easy to brainwash people, it's not like it. It's not like that at all. You can't break a solid family unit. You can't do that. You only can get in there if it's some chinks in the link. And I pass the mic.
All right, guys, we're gonna close out. Hey, listen, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror, search for Huru. Peace.
Thank you, Dynasty.
You're welcome.